somebody to steal from somebody else, bro. Like, one thing in this world that I can't stand is somebody that can understand how somebody works hard for their money, right? Does everything in their power to try to be comfortable in life and make their family and friends comfortable, and then steal from them, bro. Like, it's just very, just morally messed up to me. I'm sorry, I don't get it.
Have you ever stole from anyone?
I mean, yeah, I've stole from people, like, out of spite and stuff. I actually did some time in prison for theft, the wrong kind of theft, you know what I mean? And that's what actually made me realize the value of, like, stealing from people is just so wrong.
What's the wrong kind of theft?
Just like stealing, like, all right, so me being homeless, right, being on the street, there's you know, people have their hustles and shit, you know what I mean? Some people panhandle, some people you know, scam, you know, like it's kind of like panhandle, but they're like, hi, yeah, I'm trying to get the such and such, you know, to get my family, and then they get the money and they go get high. Like, that's morally messed up to me. You want to get high, that's fine, bro. Get high. People got their vices, whatever. Work for your shit, man. Like, you know, in my homelessness, what I try to do is, like, I'll go to all these little restaurants, but I'll go, like, late at night, like around now, because they're all closing. And a lot of times, you know, they'll just mostly just feel sympathy for me. And I'll just be like, look, man, can I just help you straighten up? I just want to, like, can I sweep up and take out your trash, clean the bathroom real quick before you leave, just help you close. I'm not looking for nothing permanent. Yo, 9 times out of 10 are like, yeah, hell yeah, you can definitely help me out real quick and help me get out of here, you know what I mean? And they'll throw me like 15 or 20 bucks. You hit 2 or 3 restaurants like that, you know, you got like 80 bucks, you know what I mean? You're good for that night and that next morning. What you gotta do is figure out what you're gonna do the next day after you get breakfast and cigarettes, and, you know, get what you need to go start your day. And usually, you know, I'll boost, you know what I mean? I'm a booster, but I don't victimize people. I don't think it's right to, like, you know, steal from people in general. Like, if I do anything like that, it's like I'll go to a grocery store and get like a bunch of soaps and sell them to a local business that can't really afford to buy a box of them, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I guess a modern day Peter Pan shit or something, you know what I mean?
Let me ask you this: with that type of hustle, why don't you have a regular job?
Well, right now I'm injured really bad. Like I said, I got hit by a car not too long ago, and it was a hit and run, and I never found out who done it. And being on the streets, not having an ID, and then not being able to really get around and get everything I need done with my knee like this, it's just hard to find a regular job. But I'm, you know, on top of a couple things. After I go back to the hospital and get my dialysis treatment and this line put in, they're going to help me get a place. And it's like kind of like through like a senior disability type place, even though I'm young, but it's like being as though I'm in such bad shape, they're going to help me get that place so that way they can monitor my treatment for my knee and my dialysis for my kidneys. So it's basically just to monitor that. And once they do that, in the process I'll be getting my ID. I actually am interested in going to Under Armour warehouse and working.
How long have you been homeless for?
4 years.
What led to you being homeless?
Well, mainly the reason I've been out here so long, the reason I've been out here, like, it not being able to buy turn to is my mom was my last family member. And, you know, people need to be more aware of, like, depression and self-destruction, because my mom committed suicide. And a lot of the signs a lot of people didn't, like, notice. But I did. I noticed all of her signs. I just wasn't around to stop her. I, you know, was in the middle of having my daughter. You know, well, my daughter was already born, but I was actually in the middle of having my son. It's just, she just caught us all off guard by it. It hurt me bad. And she left me, and, like, she was my best friend in the entire world. But That's one thing I can stay mad at her forever about, is just leaving me out here, because if she was alive, I never would have been homeless ever.
So was it 4 years ago that she committed suicide?
No, she committed suicide in 2012. But 4 years ago is when me and my wife split up. And I couldn't afford the apartment. I was living in my truck for the first year and a half though of my homelessness. And then actually the insurance was in her name, so she kind of booted me off her insurance, got my truck impounded, and that's when I was flat out on the street. And I was actually in the county at the time. It was really hard to get around, so I figured out being in a city homeless is a lot more convenient.
Are you originally from the county?
No, not really. I'm originally from South Baltimore. Barney and Gay Street, yeah.
What was your childhood like?
Yeah, my mom was a really messed up person. She was a crackhead. She was my best friend though. But the thing is, she would stay out all night prostituting. When she finally did come in, she would lock herself in a bathroom for hours at a time. And I knew she was in there getting high, but only thing I wanted was my mom to just come lay in bed with me. So the only thing I could do was just lay at the crack of the door and just cry and say I want my mommy back for hours. I would do that every time she did it. And then when she finally did lay down, I couldn't go to sleep because I was just sitting there watching her, make sure she was breathing the whole time. I was afraid she was going to stop breathing. And she actually tried to commit suicide a couple times when I was a kid. One time so like I said, I boosted, right? But now, but when I was a kid, I kind of had something similar. I didn't boost. What I did was, I was selling candy for school one time, right? I'm like, hold on. All right, so I was selling candy for school one time, and I realized if I went to instead of going door to door, I would go in bars and stuff in restaurants and ask hey, look, my name's Joseph. Sorry, my ear. My name's Joseph Hudgens. It's okay if I try to solicit just a couple candy bars and try to help my school raise money for St. Jude or something like that. Anyway, so I realized that selling the candy bars and the peanuts and stuff in the bars was way better than selling them door to door. So when my mom would be all messed up and be like, here Joe, it's the food stamp card, go get us some oodles and noodles and some stuff to eat, you know what I mean, and I'll cook dinner when you get back. I would go and buy a box of peanuts and a box of cashews and stuff like that, right, with the food stamp card. It wasn't necessarily boosting, but it was still an idea as a 10-year-old to do, to make good money. I was making $100 every couple of days, you know what I mean? So my mom started realizing Joe, where the hell are you getting all this money? And then she started looking at her food stamp card and realizing that
we're back.
So we had a similar thing selling candy bars for school. Once I figured out how much money was in it, I started buying my mom's food stamp card and selling them in bars, right, for myself and saying it was for school. Well, the idea got me maybe between $100 to $200 every couple of days. As a 10-year-old, that's pretty good money, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Anyway, so my mom started realizing what I was doing, started taking most of my money and smoking crack with it. Well, one day she, now this is getting really personal, but this is basically sums up my childhood for a lot of it. But I basically took care of my mom most of the time, but she was out all night one night, and it was really scaring me. When she was out, she had got robbed in the alley, got hit in the head with a brick by some guy, robbed for her money. So when she came home, it was 7 in the morning, and she was bleeding, and she was crying, and she told me what happened and stuff. And so I was like, Mom, what do you want me to do? She's like, there's a couple dollars on the food stamp card. Just go get us some oodles and noodles, and when you come back, I'll make some breakfast. I got some eggs in there. We'll figure something out, right? So I go shopping, but I already had like a box of stuff, like candy and stuff. So I went selling the candy at this place called Canton Square over by like Highlandtown. So I wanted to surprise her with a couple extra groceries and stuff. Like I got cereal. I sold it. I made like $60 or $70. So I got cereal. I got milk. I got her favorite chocolate licorice, and I got all this good stuff, gallon of milk and stuff. And I was like, yeah, she's gonna be real happy now. She's sad. Like I don't know what happened, but like, no, I mean she had told me what happened, but I was like, I don't know if she's still okay, but like at least this will make her feel better a little bit. You know what I mean? Plus I had a couple extra dollars, so I was gonna give her since she got robbed. So I get to the porch and I'm like unlocking the door with the key, and I smell this really. Well, we lived on Eastern Avenue, right across the street from Baby Hospital, directly across the street. Like it was Eastern, like our apartment was a house, and downstairs is an apartment. But when you go in the front door, it's just a door and then the steps that go up. And another door. We lived upstairs on the upstairs part of the door. Anyway, so I start opening the door and I smell this weird smell. I'm like, what the heck is that smell? It's really weird. And it started giving me a headache, and I panicked. Like I didn't know what the smell was, but at that point I was just panicking. I don't know why. So I unlock the door. I run up the steps. I unlock our apartment door. I go in the bedroom, she's not in there, like the bed's all messed up, but like all her pills are everywhere, like, and I see 3 bottles of Seroquel empty, 200 milligrams Seroquel empty, 3 bottles. I was like, what the hell? So I run through my room, because you gotta go through my room to get to the kitchen. It was really weird. It was like I was like in the middle. We lived in a really small apartment upstairs of the house that was cut off into 2 apartments. Anyway, as I run in the kitchen, she was sitting crisscross applesauce with her head in the oven. The pilot light was blew out, but she had a quilt over her, just inhaling the gas fumes. A lot of people commit suicide that way. What's the gas called? I don't know. It's the gas that comes out the oven. It's very toxic, and you know, if it's not lit with a flame, just the gas alone will put you to sleep and you'll never wake up. Make you brain dead.
How old were you when you found your mom's
10.
doing that? 10? How old are you now?
34.
How old do you feel?
54. 64.
Is that physically or mentally?
Physically.
Physically?
Yes.
Did you feel that way before getting hit by a car?
No. Not at all. I felt great.
How long has it been since you've been hit by a car?
Probably about 11 months. And it was last summer.
Close to a year ago?
Yeah.
Currently in Baltimore, what do you think a bigger problem is? Homelessness or substance abuse?
Substance abuse.
Why is that?
It's just way more dangerous. I honestly believe it goes hand in hand, because ultimately, like, you have a drug addiction for so long, every bridge you got's gonna be slowly burning down until you're at the point where you're just stuck on an island and there's nothing you can do but either swim or die.
When did you first start suffering from substance abuse?
When I was 13.
What inspired that?
A friend in football practice. Was always a weed smoker and thought it was cool and shit like that. So, like, I would smoke weed with my friends and shit after football practice. And this guy named Scott was like, this was when I lived in Kentucky at the time. Because like I said, all the stuff that my mom did then, she actually realized what she was doing and recovered from it a little bit. She packed me up when we moved to Kentucky. When we moved to Kentucky, I think it was like in the middle of us getting a check for like me falling and breaking my hand over a manhole cover. Well, she took that money and bought a trailer in Kentucky, owned it. She bought a car, owned it. She bought a car. She got married to a really good guy named Tracy. He was still alive. He's the only like actual family member I got left alive. That's not really family, but is. You know what I mean? I talk to him on Facebook sometimes. But he so yeah, she recovered from it a little bit. And what messed everything up was her sister, which was her best friend in life. Like, she already suffered from really bad bipolar depression, right? Like, really bad bipolar depression. And like, the times that I was telling you about, okay, so let me pause that there and go back to where I caught her with her head in the oven, right? So when I caught her with her head in the oven, I dropped all the groceries on the floor. I ran over to her and I pulled her out the oven, and her eyes were rolling in the back of her head, but she was drooling. But she was still like coughing. So I knew she wasn't dead yet. You know what I mean? But I knew the pills were going to get her soon, because that's why she was drooling and shit. Like, they was kicking in on her. So what I did was I drug her to the bathroom, and I don't know what told me or what made me do the things that I did, but when I did them, apparently I saved her life. I shoved a toothbrush down her throat, and I made her throw up. Cause she still had had pills in her mouth. Like, she was chewing them up. You could tell she had poured the bottles in her mouth, was swallowing them and chewing them. Like, that's the only way she could get all the... Why? I hate this city, bro. This city is so sad. They do that shit out of spite. They don't care. They think it's funny. Like, yo, look, we scared. We made his ass jump. Fucking assholes. I respect. Well, that was a dumb move right there. Wow.
So from 13 till now, what's the longest time you've been drug free?
My 10-year stint in prison. And 2.5 years afterwards that I didn't do anything.
So when you got out of prison for those 2 years, what inspired you to be clean?
I did 10 years in prison.
Oh, excuse me. After 10 years being in prison, then you got out for 2 years.
Yeah.
What inspired you to be clean?
Meeting Asia, my ex-fiance. I had a successful side business as well, working for a company. Like, I was a professional mover. I was very good at it. On the side, I also had like a pickup truck. So whatever I wasn't working for, Eastern Moving and Storage was the company I was working for at the time of me being clean. I was doing side jobs on the side from a website that like gave you moving jobs. Mm-hmm. And I was actually going to start my own business, my own moving business. So like when I was in prison, damn, my ear was not. When I was in prison, I was on Suboxone. So when I got out, I knew that beforehand of me going to prison, I was really bad on heroin, I was really bad on pills, opiates, right? And it was just going to start all over again if I just thought I could just not do anything about it, you know what I mean? So I got on Suboxone as soon as I got out. So boxing was the best thing that ever happened to me when it comes to having something to substitute my addiction. I was able to take it successfully. I was able to I guess we'll wait until you guys hold. Make me so thirsty all the time. 1 second. Electrolytes. Very good.
So my question for you, Joe, is this.
Yes, sir.
Do you ever see yourself getting totally clean off of drugs?
I do. Very soon.
What's it gonna take?
Me walking to my camp, grabbing some clothes, and hopping back in the emergency room.
Going back to your 13-year-old self, because nobody knows Joe like Joe knows Joe.
Exactly.
What would you have told yourself to make you never use drugs a day in your life?
That I would be. Now, I'm not saying this to like disrespect anybody or anything, but when I was a kid, I'd always consider homeless people bums, right? And there was a group of kids in my neighborhood that in South Baltimore before I moved to Kentucky. They used to go bum bashing. And like the shit that they did to these homeless people, right? When I was younger, at that age I was telling you about, I always looked at homeless people like, yeah, fuck them bums, like they'll just get their ass beat by like the South Side kids, you know what I mean? For me to be one of them, for me to actually tell myself, if I had to tell myself anything, for me not to have ended up like this, a drug addict, I would have took myself and said, this is going to be you. Period. This is you when you get that age.
If you could say something to someone right now to inspire them to be the best them they could be, what is it you would tell them?
Be passionate about the things you stand for. And stand for stuff that alone means something. I'm sorry, Doug. Can you pause it for a second and re-ask that question?
You were saying?
So be passionate about the things you stand on. For instance, me, I have a very, very low tolerance for people that lie about frivolous things. One thing that I'm always going to stand on and live by and demand from somebody that's going to be in my circle is that you take your loyalty and the loyalty that you demand from other people serious. Because if you're not loyal to somebody, you can't be loyal to yourself. And if somebody can't be loyal to you, then they need to not be in your life.
And with that being said, we want to thank you for your time. We want to thank you for your honesty. And most importantly, we want to thank you for your story.
Thank you so much.
We're praying for you, Joe.